Welcome everyone! We are suffering Smallville. It is time for Season 2, Episode 16. It's called Fever. So spoilers for the episode. Kryptonite's everywhere in Smallville. We've seen it be in ponds, we've seen it be underground, we've seen it be in caves, and now it's just sprinkles in the dirt. Because literally Martha digs up some dirt and some kryptonite dust gets into her nose.
It kind of makes sense that it's in the dirt, but yeah, it's just any excuse at this point.
Yeah. So this episode's about her getting sick. Eventually Clark gets sick as well, actually. He's not immune to this because it's kryptonite related. So we get kind of an overly dramatic, serious episode where people are thinking others are dying and making speeches about them. And
it's as terrible as it sounds.
We found a few things to laugh about, but it was definitely more us making jokes over the top of it than it was the show itself being that funny this time, outside of one or two just bad bits of acting, which, you know, is consistent.
Par for the course, yeah.
Yeah. Did you like this episode?
Well, I got through my entire drink that I had anyway, and then made me drink multiple times. So yeah, I loved it. You know, that's what I come into Smallville for. Yeah.
We got two kind of subdued, like, references to the fact that he's going to be Superman in this one. And one comes from Chloe and one comes from Lana, and it's both when they're telling him how much they care about him. Because there's a time when he's sick in this episode, and he thinks that some of them think he might even die. Chloe comes and speaks to him and confesses all of her feelings when he's asleep. So he doesn't hear any of it, but she's like, I'm the girl of your dreams masquerading as your best friend. Well, wait a minute, no. I'm pretty sure Lana's the girl of his dreams, but we've very much established that by this point in the show.
We definitely has, but she thinks she's Lana.
So she says something about him flying back to her one day, which...
you know what? I saw the subtitle before I heard her read the line. And I was just immediately like, I guess that's a drink.
And then the other one is at the end. Lana feels bad because she didn't go and visit Clark because she saw him collapse, right? So, which is good for his cover story that he's regular because people have seen him be sick now. But she didn't go to visit him when he was out and cold on the couch, and she feels bad about that. But at the end, she sort of comes up to him and says, "Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't come by and see you, but some are better with words than others." And they do a whole thing before this, which we predicted because it was painfully obvious, is that the bit of paper Chloe had written her little speech on that she was going to tell Clark, Lana finds that in the torch. She reads it. And I think in the moment, because she just said to Chloe, it made me realise how much I care about him. You know, you really realise how much you care about people when they're in jeopardy. And it felt like maybe she was opening to, maybe starting something with Clark again because she realised how important he was to her. But then I think it was reasonable to think, the note that she read from Chloe maybe give her second thought, so maybe I'll be hurting Chloe too much if I pursue Clark. But then when she goes to speak to Clark, there's a general attitude of, well, no, I realised how I really feel, so I don't give a shit. So I'm going to let him know how much I care about him, because I always thought of you as invincible. That was the other nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah, they really wanted me to drink this episode.
So Chloe looks on longingly and upset as she clearly sees Clark and Lana bonding once again. Clark, seemingly almost dying, has reminded Lana that she has lots of feeling in her skittle form.
To be fair, this happens once every 3 episodes at this point, so...
It does.
Should be used to it.
It does. It probably helps that you guys will have had this right a week after the last one. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since we recorded the last one. So there's a point in this episode when Lana showed up for the first time and Connor literally said out loud, "Oh, I forgot about her." As in, he just forgot she existed completely.
Yeah, I forgot that, this is her plot in this episode. I don't think she'd really been in the episode at this point. I forgot Kristin Kreuk was an actress and that Lana Lang was a character. Entirely. Yeah, which says all you need to know about how I feel about her, really.
We're 2/3 into season 2. You can't be forgetting one of the main characters.
I've seen this entire show, twice. And I still forgot she existed.
Anyway, so yeah, to go back to the story at hand here. So Martha's hiding the jar of flour that she's hid the key, the hexagonal key, into this flour, and she's burying it under the dirt in the cellar where the ship is, under the cans of lead paint, which we noticed because we thought, oh, that's quite smart actually.
Because it'll hide it from Clark. Also, I don't like how you pronounce that. How did you say hexagonal? Say it again. I can't do it in your way.
Hexagonal.
You said like hexagonal.
Probably just because I hadn't thought about it before I said the word.
Yeah, and it was really weird. I can't get on board with it.
I'm not trying to say that's how you pronounce it. It's just I just didn't think about it in advance, so I said hex and then realised I have to say hexagonal. But
you were like hexagonal.
Yeah,
but it was weird.
If you've already said the hex on its own first and you've sort of finished your syllable, it was the only way to continue the word. I can't unless I just.
It was more like hexagonal.
Clearly, I was thinking of what word I was trying to say. Like, it's not that big a deal.
No. I just didn't like it, and it was weird. And you should do better next time.
Look, there's just some words where they usually
forget how to speak.
It takes a couple of tries sometimes for certain words because, like, I forget how the rest of the syllables go when you start them. All right, it's just how it's just it's language.
And this is why you've never been on even a CW show. Because at least Kristin Kreuk can pronounce words.
To be fair, they give her pretty simple words.
They do give her pretty simple words. I've seen her on more than one show, and they still give her pretty simple words.
I'd surprised if she ever goes more than 2 syllables per word, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that that Beauty and the Beast thing that she was on?
No, of course I didn't watch that.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I think it was a Canadian network that did it.
Yeah.
I'm shit on CW because they're the easy target.
Well, as I pointed out whilst we were watching, I did see Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, in which she played Chun-Li. In
that case, you're clearly an expert.
The movie where she goes on a Batman Begins style trip around the world, learning how to be a homeless person trying to fight for her life.
Tell me that movie came out after Batman Begins, at least.
It did, yeah. It was like four or 5 years after. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't pay attention to when the Street Fighter movies came out.
Oh dear. Okay, so Martha gets sick. There's a really bad CG shot of her insides as the little spores are connecting to her.
It was
bits.
very early 2000s science lesson CGI.
Yes. But yeah, she goes back inside, she starts coughing. She actually almost dies immediately because when she collapses, she drops a jar of lemonade and it smashes, and there's this big bit of glass sticking up, and she's going to land on it. And it's all in slow motion, so it's not really that much time, but it felt like in the edit that Clark was taking a while to swoop in to catch her, because I'm like, dude, she's going to land on the glass and die. This is...
Yeah, I assume that in their logic, they were thinking that, okay, Clark sees it in normal time, and she gets halfway down before he even thinks to react, to to move into super speed mode.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
But because it was all in slow motion for us, it felt like a long time.
So we get her in hospital, everyone's concerned. Miranda? No.
Sure.
Helen Bryce. I don't know where I got Miranda from. The doctor lady that Lex is dating.
I was completely willing to go along with Miranda at that point.
I don't know why I thought Miranda. She gave me Miranda vibes. So yes, Helen is like, oh, I'm concerned, and I'm concerned for both her and the baby. And Jonathan's like, what?
The baby?
The baby? Who's the father? Tell me right now. I demand to know.
As long as it's not Lionel.
Must be nice for Clark knowing these parents have had sex in the last, month or two.
Yeah. Sure he loves that.
I'm sure he loves it dearly. That's it. I mean, he's not got it yet, but once his super hearing kicks in, he must be just trying to avoid listening, because
I have to from vague memory in that episode.
Yes.
He learns to block everything else out pretty quickly, right? That's kind of the whole point.
But at least the X-ray vision, which again he learns to control by the end of the episode it was introduced. At least with that he can look in the other direction, right? But you can't do that with sound.
You can't hear in the other direction.
Yeah.
I mean, you can turn your head. Hearing is still directional.
You can tell which direction a sound's coming from, but you can't block out just by turning away, you know?
No, that's where you just stick earbuds in and hope for the best.
That's why sound quality is what gives away low-budget stuff, is because you can control visuals a lot better, because you can just... literally, outside of the frame, it could be chaos, but as long as you don't see it inside the frame, doesn't matter. But sound, you know, you can't, you know... You have to redub things and whatnot to get rid of things. The whole
and
thing.
then redubbing often sounds bad.
Yes.
Not always, but often.
If you don't know what you're doing, certainly it doesn't sound great. So, anywho, Martha's sick. The CDC, the
DCA?
DCA.
Disease Control Agency, which I only know is on the side of the truck. I don't think they actually said it at any point.
No, I think they said it when they first showed up, when they came storming out of the hospital. But because
when no one was paying attention to who they were.
because when they realize it's a toxin they don't understand, they're like, we have to find it. This could be like a big deal. And I don't know if it's because there's rules about just using the CDC, or if it's just a case. Maybe back in the early 2000s they didn't think most people would know what it was, so they just made up their own. I don't know.
Could go either way. I feel like I've seen the CDC in other TV shows and movies, though. Or at least, you know, like heard them referenced.
Oh, it's for sure, but like, I'm just wondering timeline-wise, because maybe it was just not as done as much in this time period, because I can remember it throughout the 2010s for sure.
Hey, I'm not as into US politics enough to know for certain that it wasn't at any point called the DCA.
Oh, true. Yeah,
my quick Google search says it wasn't, because it came up as the, what did I say, the Dundee something of arts.
Yes.
So I'm willing to bet it was never called that. But hey, I can't say for sure.
Nah, I think it's been CDC for a long ass time.
Forever.
So certainly. So I remember Walking Dead season 1, them talking about the CDC, and that was 2012 or 2010 maybe, somewhere around then. So
yeah, I mean, this is still like a decade before that, but it was probably still the CDC.
It probably was. There's probably movies about viruses from like the 70s that are talking about the CDC. So they want to go search the farmland to find out what made her sick, and obviously Jonathan and Clark are like, wait a minute, the ship. So Clark rushes off to get the ship, but as he's getting the ship, some of this kryptonite dust, like, you know, puffs up into the air. He breathes some of it in, and when he's driving away with the ship with Pete, he gets sick and drives off the road. His strength goes. Pete actually has to help him move the truck back out of the road because he's not got super strength. And this is where I think I had the thought of, are they going to address the fact that this kryptonite dust is still there, or are they going to somehow like deal with it by the end of the episode? And they don't. Like, they heal Martha and Clark with the ship, which apparently has magical healing properties, which I'm assuming means the ship won't be around that much longer, because otherwise it's a bit weird if you can just cure anyone of anything.
There's that, but also the fact that it needs the key to do anything. So I think you could take away the key, right?
Sure, they have the key right now, but yeah, they could take it away again, potentially.
I don't remember the ship long term though.
Yeah, I don't know how long the ship's around.
I vaguely remember, like, obviously once he gets to the fortress, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because the fortress is there, yeah.
But that's still a couple of seasons away, at least.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but like, this dirt in the cellar that is just, you know, got kryptonite dust in it, it's still there at the end of the episode, and I don't think they're ever going to address or deal with it in any way. I guess they're just saying, oh, we'll just be careful. Whenever we're down there, we'll just be careful.
Yeah, well, Jonathan will go in with a face mask on, because he's a responsible person, and just shovel out all the dirt, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah. I don't think you were trying to allude to what the actor John Schneider done recently when you said he's a sensible person, but it made me laugh.
I was not. I don't think I've seen this.
Oh, he was on I think it's The Masked Singer, I want to say the show is.
I'm assuming the US version.
Yeah. So where celebrities sing under a mask or whatever.
They do that, yeah.
And he took off his mask and he basically said he wanted Biden to be executed on TV.
Oh.
So Yeah.
Yeah, I had not seen that. I assumed until this very moment that he was a fairly reasonable person. Default assumption, right?
Yeah,
reasonable person.
Yeah, he seemed pretty stern about it. So it said Biden committed crimes against America or blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. I'm not saying it's as bad as what Allison Mack did, but add them to the list, okay? Like, we might make fun of Kristin Kreuk's acting ability, but as far as we know, she's not done anything or said anything to that stupid, so...
I'm assuming this wasn't in relation to any Israel-Palestine conflict.
I don't think so. I think it was just more of a general...
I think would have been a maybe fairer, shot at him.
Calling for the execution of someone's, I don't think there's any fair...
I said fairer, not fair. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's roll back a second. But, I had not seen this.
Yeah. It was like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. I happened to catch it on social medias and went, really? And yeah, it seemed to be a thing that happened.
Oh, never mind then.
Yes. So, anywho, so Clark ends up sick. He collapses in front of Lana. And to be fair, the stuntman doing this fall, going down the little stairs in the porch, is actually a really fun little stunt because he sort of falls backwards and sort of lands on his head on the steps and then flips backwards from there. It looked really nasty in a good way.
He actually does a good job, yeah. And not to say that no one on this show does a good job, but surprisingly still.
Yeah, despite everything we just said, John Schneider's one of the better actors on the show.
Yeah, his personal views aside, he's good at his job. At least on this show, compared to everyone else. Well, most of them.
Oh, yeah, because, John Glover's fine, obviously.
Yeah, there's maybe about 4 of them that are properly, like,
let's be honest, it's most of the adults. There's, all the ones that are playing teenagers are the ones that are shit.
It's basically John, Martha, Lex, and Lionel, isn't it?
Well, Lex does get hurt, though. I mean, they all get hurt in this way, but I feel like Lex gets the worst material out of those 4, though, because there's a lot of really forced drama moments where he's having to be kind of... Like, this episode's a good example, actually, where all of his scenes are where he comes to see Helen, not Miranda, and every scene is just him clearly being upset that she's been invited to do this research position in a different city, and I don't even want to call it passive aggressiveness, because it's not really even that. It's just kind of awkward.
Like, just petty. Yeah,
he's just sort of pettily kind of bringing it up, but trying to act like he doesn't care. And it like, his performance is not bad, but the script and the direction are just completely making it the worst thing ever. I hated it.
The script is terrible, but at no point during this episode, even this is amongst his worst material, at no point do I blame Rosenbaum.
No.
For this performance, because I think he's doing his best. I really do.
You did go on for 5 minutes about his shirt being too boring, though.
I'm sorry, but it was a boring white shirt. I stand by. If he wore and just some stripes, some zigzags, I don't know, a little tweed shirt, anything that was more than just this plain white button-down shirt. Oh, boring.
Yeah, do not care. Anyway, the end of the episode, he asks Miranda to move in with him.
Who, for the record, was wearing a nice little turtleneck, so you know.
You must really not be enjoying this if you're paying attention to the costumes of every character.
I did notice as well, for the record, it was a lilac turtleneck, which is, bordering on Lex colours.
Yeah, your whole Lex wears lilac or purple most episodes. Fell apart this one. He was wearing just white and black.
It was boring. He does most episodes. I stand by it. But no, she was wearing on this episode instead.
So she seems to accept at the end of the episode.
Yeah, we got to write her out soon because she knows Clark's secret now. Well,
she knows
she's on the way to knowing Clark's secret.
She knows he's different because part of this whole thing is that when he gets sick and he's bedridden, or I should say couch-ridden, he's on the couch. Probably because he's too big for anyone to carry up the stairs, so just dump him on the couch. To be
fair, I think it'd be fine if they had Martha to carry him up as well as Jonathan, but she's also in hospital.
Yeah.
He is not a one-man job.
Well, yeah, but Lana was there.
Oh, yes, Lana can lift someone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is Lana helping Jonathan carry Clark that much more ridiculous than Martha helping Jonathan?
Honestly, yes. Martha helps on the farm all the time, and Lana's this tiny little girl who goes to school.
She owns a coffee business.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She sets up fundraisers that have got American Oasis. More than that later.
Oh yeah, that's so physically demanding.
She's she's got the lever for the coffee and the espressos and the
That's still the coffee.
I know it's still coffee, but it's a different kind of coffee. And there's like
It's not.
There's frothing going on. There's a lot of frothing.
That's milk. Yeah.
She froths.
She does froth.
I've always said that about Lana Lang. Say what you want about her. She knows how to froth.
She does. I will never doubt that she knows how to froth.
Also, we should mention that when the CDC guys, I'm not going to even use the fake thing. The CDC, when the CDC are searching the farm, they find because they've got like Geiger counters and shit out, and they're reading whatever. So obviously, it's not a Geiger counter. I know it's not radioactive, but you know the equivalent. And
I assume kryptonite is radioactive.
Yeah, well, it probably is. Yeah. But I don't know if that's literally what they were looking for when they're looking for a toxin.
Yeah, I don't know why they were searching for a toxin with that equipment, but yeah.
Maybe they had a bunch of different meters and looking for anything out of the ordinary, I guess. But they find the key and they show it to Jonathan and that, and like, hey, do you know what this is? And they have to pretend that they have no idea what it is, but secretly like, why the hell did Martha have that? Why didn't we know about this? So they know about that now. It's worth mentioning that.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, and I thought this was a little bit weird. Jonathan is leaving the house and Clark sort of stumbles over to the door and says, "Where are you going, Dad?" And he just turns around and says, Helen Miranda said that she won't make it through the night. And I thought, okay, it's not a bad way to deliver this information, but it almost felt a bit strange, given how much the episode was focused on trying to like save Martha up until this point, to not have more of that actually on camera. I don't know, it felt like almost like we were skipping over a major beat by just having him bring it up like that with Clark, even though I think the performance was effective in how he did it. But
I think this is a no-win situation for the show, because if they have it delivered from Helen Miranda to Jonathan,
yes,
and then this moment as well, we'd complain that, well, this is just double exposition for no reason.
True.
And I think out of the two options, if they only have one, Jonathan to Clark is more impactful.
Yeah, I suppose.
So lesser of two evils, I guess. Is they've written themselves into a corner here, and this is this is the best way out.
Martha was awake for a bit though, and she said her theory on the pregnancy. Because keep in mind, she couldn't have kids. That was why they were happy to find Clark back in the day. Is that the ship, when it turned on at the end of season 1 or whenever it was, she felt different. Like it's like it hit her with like a blast of something, and she felt healthy, and that's why she's maybe been able to have kids now. I
kind of love the idea that the two of them, they weren't using protection of any sort because, well, Martha can't have kids. Why bother?
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, she can have kids now. Oh, maybe we should have been.
I mean, they're probably happy. They are old for having a baby, though. They're definitely on the later end of that spectrum.
They definitely are. Like, not impossibly old. Not like where you're questioning, like, this isn't ever possible. But it is.
Yeah.
It is to the point where it's like, well, maybe, the doctor definitely needs to be involved.
Yeah. They're going to have to take it carefully.
Which, I guess, to the show's credit, the doctor clearly is involved, right? It's already on record with the GP.
I have to say, I was surprised that she still had the baby at the end of the year, because I thought, okay, they're going to save her, but the baby's going to go in the process, and that's going to be how we're not going to have a kid. However, at the end of the episode, the baby's still in there. They're looking at a scan, and they want to find out naturally which gender it is and whatnot, and that's all fine. But I'm like, okay, but we're definitely not keeping a baby, so she's either having a miscarriage at some point or something weird.
Yeah, I think it means there's another. It's another dramatic moment for a different episode down the line, right?
Probably not a supernatural one. It's probably going to be more of a straightforward. She falls or something.
probably for their side of things.
Yeah, more of like a. I mean, maybe the person who shoves her or something's got kryptonite powers, but I suspect that it'll be more of a force thing than it is a she's infected again, because that would be really repeating the.
That would be, yeah.
So, anyway, Jonathan's plan is to go and steal the key back from the site that has all the stuff they took from the farm. So he breaks in, he tells Clark to stay behind, he sneaks in, he finds it, and when he's on his way out, a guard with a big machine gun tries to stop him.
Let's not brush over the dramatic music that plays for about 4 minutes.
Well, they realised that him sneaking into this place was really boring, so they tried to cover it up with very, very, very dramatic, over-the-top music.
Which was fine for about 20 seconds, and then it got really boring, and then it played for about 4 minutes straight with very little variation.
Yes, Connor was very upset.
I really was. It was actually really frustrating how much this played.
We got a good laugh, though, because when the guy's pointing the gun at him, Clark just jumps out from behind with a fire extinguisher and knocks him out. It's like the most unheroic thing he's ever done. I mean, sure, there's a good goal for it, like it's achieving something, but given how he usually deals with problems, him just jumping out and assaulting someone is definitely a sillier outcome. But, so we have this big chase sequence where there's cars and a helicopter chasing the truck. But you can kind of see the twist coming a mile off that it's a decoy. They've given Pete a truck that looks the same so that it'll be Pete who gets arrested. I'm
pretty sure we both called it as Pete before the outcome.
So yeah, Pete really doing them a solid, because they might still wanted to arrest him for this, if they suspect that he intentionally deceived them. Maybe the argument is that, I was just driving on the road, officers. Well, what was I doing? He seems to be off scot-free at the end, but definitely put himself in a bit of a risky position for the Kents.
Yeah, I have to assume the police weren't quite as bad in the early 2000s as they are now. Because otherwise, Pete would never have volunteered, right?
Are you suggesting that police were nicer to black people in the early 2000s? Because I think that is the most absurd thing you've ever said.
I'm suggesting that maybe, not nicer, but maybe they weren't as bad, maybe?
I mean, my impression from everything I've heard is that it was always as bad, if not worse, and it's just that we're more aware of it now.
I mean, it might well be just that there is more data for it now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because people weren't filming things on their phones back in the early 2000s and catching them.
That is absolutely a possibility. I do not have the data to confirm or deny either way.
But yeah, so I don't know. The whole thing was just a big whatever. They get the ship outside the hospital. Luckily, no one's looking outside as they open the ship up. They put the key in,
and it just floats.
It's floating, it's lighting up, and then it sends a big shockwave through the hospital. It's like, oh, geez, good job, no one noticed that. And they never actually answered, because we were actually questioning as this was happening. Is it going to just cure Clark and Martha, or is it going to cure everyone in the hospital? And I would suspect that it did cure everyone, because this shockwave went through the whole building, but they never actually mention if it did or not. They never say it.
They didn't, which makes me assume not, because that would be a huge thing, right? My theory was, well, it read Clark first, so it saw this was the, quote unquote disease that Clark was dealing with, so it kind of filtered and just cured that thing in the area. But yeah, that's the best I've got.
And even then, there's some flaws in that, because it's like, well, Clark and Martha are different species, technically.
Yeah, but it affects them both in the same way, and they have the same symptoms. So whatever, it's clearing kryptonite poisoning is what it's doing. It's a blast to clear the kryptonite, and that's it. It's not healing someone with a broken leg.
Yeah. Regardless, though, it's cured her of whatever was stopping her from getting pregnant, and now it's cured this. We have this ship that can magically cure people, which means we can't keep it around for too much longer, or the key, perhaps, as you said, because this is too much of a convenient plot hole. Like, every time someone's feeling bad, we're just, blindfold them and take them to the ship.
Yeah, like we know the key is also fits in the cave, right? We've seen that.
Yes.
I wonder if... I wonder... I know I've seen this show before, but I don't remember because it was a long time ago.
I'm pretty sure the key's get in the cave wall very soon.
At some point, yes, but does the key disappear when that happens? Does it meld into the cave wall? Like, does the key become unusable once that happens?
I don't think so, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so honestly, they barely mentioned this throughout the episode. All and it's just what Martha was working on before she got sick. But she was setting up like a fundraiser that weekend. So the episode ends with the fundraiser at the Talon, and there's a band playing. I think we're called Stedman.
Stedman.
Yeah. But as soon as it cut to them playing their song, I said immediately, that guy looks like he's a big fan of Oasis because he's wearing a tracksuit, he's got kind of the bobble hair, and he's even the way he's strumming his guitar and singing. He's an American guy who really loves Oasis, and he's modeled himself after Oasis. That's my analysis of the situation.
And as I said, it's about 5 years too late, but this is rural Kansas. I can believe Oasis got there a little bit late.
And then we get all our conversations with Clark and Chloe, then Clark and Lana, and Clark being concerned and sort of wanting to, because that's the thing. Clark goes up to Chloe, oh, I heard you came and visited me, that's really sweet, and it's like he is kind of like ready to open up to her, but then Lana comes in and says, no, I like you a lot, Clark, and it's like, oh, forget Chloe. And Chloe's just watching longingly in the distance with the eyes, the puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, which probably sums up at least 30% of the endings.
It really does. There's so many episodes of this show that end with, in fact, Chloe's probably the rare example. It tends to be either Clark or Lana who are looking with longing eyes, like either they're really concerned or upset or like confused about their feelings. Like most of the episodes end with one of those two characters looking just past the camera like that.
Chloe's definitely had a few though.
They had a few, but it's not as common as the other two.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Much like her position in the menage a trois, as it were, she's also in the show, where the show cares about Clark and Lana, and Chloe's just there to be the sad best friend who's not going to get what she wants. So even in the writing, she is destined to be this third wheel.
She is always the second choice.
Yeah. Oh well, here's what it is. Hey, on the bright side, once Pete leaves next season, Chloe gets to become the new Pete, as well as still be Chloe. So she gets to do a bit of both. So. And
then a little bit later, we introduce Lana and Lois and bump her back down.
You forgot Lana existed again.
I did forget Lana existed again. She's so forgettable. I can't help it. It's all Kristin Kreuk's fault.
Yeah, I think the writers are taking part of the blame.
See, I want to blame the writing because the writing is bad. But I have seen her in multiple things and I still forget she exists.
Hey, she has been in some good stuff. She was in a couple episodes of Chuck, okay? Chuck was good.
I don't remember her in Chuck. I've seen Chuck and I don't remember her in Chuck.
Chuck dated her briefly. Obviously, funnily enough, she ultimately was dropped because he was destined to be with the main love interest who the whole show was revolving around.
Who was a much, 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 much better actress than Kristin Kreuk.
Oh yeah, Yvonne Strahovski's much better. No doubt. Yvonne Strahovski, after Chuck, went on to do Handmaid's Tale and has been in like other movies and stuff. Like she clearly has more of a career.
She's a legitimately good. She's probably the best actress or actor on that show.
On Chuck, yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah, I don't think I'm.
Barring any like sort of big guest stars they got, maybe the main cast.
I can't remember every guest star, but out of the main cast, she's probably the best on that show.
Yeah, not that anyone was bad on that show. I think they all played their parts well.
They did, but she is very, very good.
I know a couple of the cast members have got, again, some personal and political
questionable views. Yeah,
that we don't want to talk about that much, much like John Schneider, but still.
But purely based on acting talent alone, she is extremely good.
Yeah, Chuck's good. I should do
do like Chuck.
I should do a review series of Chuck at some point. I'd love to go through it again.
Oh man, I haven't watched Chuck in a while.
That and Fringe, because they were both airing at the same time. I'd love to go through both of them again.
Do you know what? I've tried Fringe multiple times. I just don't care for it as much.
How far did you get though? Did you get to the good stuff?
I got to like, I think the first I got to like the end of the second season.
Okay, you were kind of into the good stuff at that point.
And it's not that I think it's bad, but not like, I just don't care enough to like, oh, I'm going to watch all 5 seasons or whatever it is.
Nah,
Chuck, on the other hand, I had fun. Even on the bad episodes, I have fun with Chuck.
Chuck miraculously kept getting better in ways that I couldn't have predicted, despite the fact that it was a super light-hearted show. Anyway, we're just talking about a much better show than Smallville, though, which
not hard.
Which Chuck is. So, hey, all right, there you go. I guess that's Fever.
And shitty Oasis.
Yes, and American man who thinks he's Oasis, who thinks he's a Gallagher.
I love that the guitarist was playing like he's in Blur as well. That just made it for me.
Yeah, the drummer was too generic to like compare him to another drummer.
Standard Britpop.
I thought it was Lex for a second because it was a bald guy. It's like, oh, why is Lex playing the drums? All right, I guess we're done. All right, that's the show, everyone. That's Suffering Smallville. We'll be back with the next episode, which I think is a biggie. Yeah, it's Rosetta.
Cave shit,
but also Christopher Reeve. So,
is that the Christopher Reeve one? Okay,
yeah. So we may actually have a few positive things to say about the next one.
Well, I mean, we'll have at least one good actor.
So, yes, join us for that next time. Of course, check out all the other reviews on MailFuzz TV. Support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses, early access for some stuff, much like these Smallville reviews, which are way ahead. At least as of right now. We're losing our lead slowly, but right now we're about 10 episodes ahead on Patreon, so you can go check that out. But thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Keep watching TV and won't somebody please save me.